Hi, and welcome to Code Tutorials. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the theme block, which is part of our key blocks for Gutenberg plugin. You can use this block to present your theme, introduce your colleagues, and generally give a human touch to your business. And you can do that by putting emphasis on the visual with a large image and the team member's name, title, and social media accounts. Or, as we can see on this page, there are also looks you can opt for. The design solutions vary. You can choose a more interactive look where the information is displayed on hover, and pick the amount of information you want to share, as well as the image size, overlay color, and more. There are different content and style options you can use and different combinations of those options, so you can create a wide range of looks with the theme block. It's all down to your preferences and planned site design. This block is highly adaptable, so finding a look that suits you will be easy, as will integrating it on your pages. You can make theme presentations that will be full width or boxed, and decide how they will behave on hover. Overall, this block offers an extremely user-friendly way to introduce your theme in striking and memorable ways. So, with all that said, how do you go about working with this block? To start, we'll need a page to work in. I prepared this one, and I created 4 columns within it where I plan to put 4 theme blocks in total. Now, how do you add a block to the page? Well, there are several ways. For one, you can click here on this blue button. This will open the block selection where you can look for the block you want. You can scroll through the blocks here to see everything you have on your site, from Gutenberg to key blocks and anything else you may have installed. Gutenberg blocks are black, whereas key blocks have red icons to set themselves apart. So when you find your block here, you just need to drag and drop it into whatever location you want on the page. However, there's another way to add blocks, and that's where the columns I made come into play. We can see each has a little plus icon inside it, and we can click on this icon to open a pop-up window with a view of all our recently used blocks and a search bar above that. So now I'm going to look for the block I want by typing in its name. Okay, there, and clicking on it will automatically add it to the page. Now we can see what the theme block looks like by default. There's a placeholder image and some dummy text for the name and job position. This look is determined by the layout, which we can change here. We have this drop-down menu with a selection of different layouts. Let's take a look at what's available. The default setting is Info Below, and we can see what that looks like on the left. We can choose instead Info Below Left, and that will still show the image, but the text will appear under it on hover. Then we have Info from Bottom, which also reveals the text on hover, but this time it pops up from the bottom of the image. After that, we have Info on Hover Inset. With this layout, the image gets a square inset when we hover, and the text appears on that square. And finally, we have the Info on Hover setting, which has the text appearing with an overlay across the image. For my plan design, and for the ease of showing you all the options, I'll set my layout to be Info Below. With the text constantly visible, we'll be able to track any changes made to it easily. And speaking of the text, our next option is for setting the name. You can type over the text in this field and it will replace the dummy name here. Give me a sec. Okay, there. Next, we have the role field. This is where you'd enter the job title or a person's role in the organization. Let me replace that quickly as well. Below these, we have the image field. I'll remove the placeholder image first, and then click here to open the media library and pick a replacement image. I'll use this one, and select. There we go. And once you've picked your image, you can select the image size for it. I uploaded an image with carefully selected proportions, so I'll be using the full size setting. But if you prefer, you can choose one of the others instead. There's medium, which looks like this, large, which looks like this, or thumbnail, which looks like this. I'll set this back to full size as that's what I want to use for my design. After that, we have social and the button saying Add Item under that. This is where we can add the social media icons, which will be accompanied by appropriate links to a team member's profiles. Each item we add will represent one social media account. Let me show you. I'll click on the button, and this has created the first item. We can't see a change on the page yet, but we will as soon as I've added the icon. I'll use one from my media library. Please note, the icon you decide to add needs to be in SVG format. I'll use this one. Select. And there we go. The icon has appeared within the block on the page. And in the options now, I can add a link that will be accessible by clicking on the icon. As this is just a tutorial, I'll simply put a hashtag as a placeholder, but you should make sure to add your actual social media profile or account URLs. Okay, to add more icons, you need to create more items. I'll quickly set up 2 more icons, but I'll speed up this part as we've seen the steps already. Okay, there. I have all the social media icons I wanted, and we can see them here on the page. With my icons customized, I've finished adding all my content. Before we move on to styling it, we have one more thing I want to mention here, the Advanced section. This section contains only one option, the additional CSS classes. You can use it to create a specific class for this element and then refer to that class when putting together CSS that would style the theme block. However, there are plenty of existing style options that you can use, and we're going to take a look at them now. So let's open the Style tab. We can see that it's been divided into several sub-tabs. We'll tackle them in order, starting with Content. Here we have the Image Hover option. By default, it's set to None, and if we hover, we can see that nothing changes with the image. We can replace that with Zoom, and then the image will zoom in slightly on hover. Or we can use the Scale setting, which will seemingly bring the image closer to us. For the design I have in mind, I'll set the Zoom Image Hover effect. Okay, after that we have the Space Between Icons option. It allows us to adjust how much space we'll have here between the different social media icons. I'm going to set 25 pixels for it. Now that the space is bigger, there's more room for each icon. Following that, we have the Content Top Margin option. It's for creating or reducing the space above the text content. I'm going to set 22 pixels for this, and then I'll get a slightly bigger gap than I originally had here. Alright. Our final content style option is alignment. With it, we can change the alignment of the text and icons. So it's set to left by default, and we can see nothing changes even when I click on the setting. However, we can also put it in the center, and we can see it's placed right in the middle under the image. And finally, we can put the text on the right. I'll go back to using left, as that's part of my planned design. With that done, we can check out the next set of options. These ones are for styling the name. The first thing we can change is the HTML tag that's applied to the name. I'll switch from the default H4 to H5. And this is what the team member's name looks like now. Next, we can change its color. You can use the slider to set any color you like, and it will immediately change on the page. Or you can input a color code in this field. I'm happy to keep the default color, so I'll reset this. And after that, we have the name typography. When I open it, you can see that this actually represents a collection of different typography settings. I don't plan on making any changes here, but we'll go through the available options together so you know what to expect. There is the option to set a new font family. You have hundreds of fonts to choose from. Then we have the font size, if you want to make the name bigger or smaller. After that, the font weight option offers a variety of settings that can turn the name light, bold, or anything in between. Next, the transform option lets us change the name to uppercase, lowercase, make it capitalized, or keep it normal, which is the same as the default setting. Then there's the style option for making the name text normal or turning it italic or oblique. Following that, the decoration option serves to add a line under, over, or through the name. Finally, we have 2 options for spacing adjustments, line height and letter spacing, in case you need to make any changes here. Okay, I'll close this. After the typography, we have the name margin bottom option. With it, we can adjust how much space we'll have here, under the name and before the job title. I'll set 5 pixels here to get a touch more space. Okay, those were the style options we have for the name. Next, we'll be looking at those for styling the role text or the job title. The options are pretty similar to the ones we've seen before. So, there is the color option, and it has the same easy-to-use color picker that shows an immediate change. I'm going to set a lighter shade of gray using a color code. There. This contrast allows the name and the social media icons to pop. And after this, we have another set of typography settings. If we open them, we can see that the same options are present here as well. So I won't be explaining them again. I'll simply set what I need for my design and we'll carry on. So font size 16 pixels, then font weight medium 500, and one more thing, the line height will be 23 pixels. There. Okay, let me close this. And then we have the row margin bottom option. We can use this to adjust the gap under the role title, so this space here. I'm going to slightly reduce it by setting 10 pixels. Okay, moving on to the next sub-tab in the options, we have the text. Now this text refers to the additional descriptive text that you can enter with certain layouts. However, the one I picked, info below, doesn't allow that, so the options here won't have any effect on my block. But if you opted for a layout that allows you to add text, you can change its color here. The option works the same as all the other color options we've seen so far. And you can change any of the typography aspects of the text here. All the options in this bundle should be familiar as well. Okay, let's keep going and look at the options for styling the social media icons. The first option here is for changing the icon fill color, or more simply, the icon color. So if I set something new here, we can see all the icons have changed their color. I have a specific shade of very dark gray for this, so I'll set the hex code for it. Okay, there. Next, we have the icon stroke color option. Now, this option won't work for me given the icons I set. But if you have a more complex icon design where your icon has an outline, then this option would let you change the color of that outline. And the option above, the icon fill color, will change the color of everything within the outline. Okay, after that we have the icon hover color. If I set a different color here and move over to the icons, the new color will be visible on hover. For this, I'll set the same shade of light gray I used for the job title. And this is what the result looks like. Finally, we have the icon size option. You can guess from its name what it does. Using it, you can make your icons bigger or smaller. For example, if we set 20 pixels here, the icons have grown larger. I'll reset the option to keep the default value, which is 16 pixels. That's it as far as the main body of the options goes. We have one more tab here, Advanced. The options within it are something you get with every one of the key blocks for Gutenberg, and they serve to set how an individual block will look and act on the page. For example, there are responsiveness and motion effect settings here. While these options are undoubtedly useful as they can help you adjust the block positioning, background, border, and more, they affect blocks as a whole. They aren't specific to the theme block, so we won't be covering them in this tutorial. However, we're not done just yet. I have 4 more columns to fill with team members, and the easiest way to do that is by duplicating the finished block. So, click on the block to select it, go to the floating options above, click to expand them, and select Duplicate. Now we have an exact copy of the block that's complete, and I'm going to adapt it by changing its content. But duplication allowed me to keep all the style settings I made, so I don't have to do that all over again. And since we already covered the steps for duplicating blocks, I'll skip ahead with the video. Okay, here we are. All 4 theme blocks are done. They have the same style settings which tie them together, but each has its own content. And since I'm done, I'll hit update to save my work. Alright. To finish up, I'd like us to take one last look at the page we started from. With everything we covered in this video, you can now cast a more experienced eye on the examples shown here. This is the one I chose to recreate for this tutorial, but with knowledge of the options within the theme block and how those options work, you should find it easy to break down any of these other examples. You can then recreate them on your site or use them as a starting point for your own building work. It's up to you. The important thing is that you've seen under the hood, so to speak, and that you have all the knowledge and tools you need to start making theme presentations of your own. Ultimately, we hope you've found this video on the theme block helpful and will be on your way to trying out the element shortly. If you have any questions after watching this video, or comments or suggestions you'd like to make, please drop us a line in the comment section below. Also, make sure to subscribe to our channel and be the first to learn about any new tutorials and theme guides. Thank you for watching.